Arrival of the Emperor. This is Modbrix set 107704. It was released in September 2024 for about €30. This construction block set consists of 832 pieces, which are compatible to bricks by other building blocks companies like Lego, Mega, Fantasy, and so on. A few weeks ago I showed you another Modbrix set designed by designer Florian, and that set shows a scene from the Star Wars movies. And here, once again, he gives us a build which depicts a scene from Star Wars, from Return of the Jedi. The scene where Emperor Palpatine arrives with this Lambda shuttle at, the second Death Star. It's clearly a Star Wars themed set, but it doesn't say so on the box because the company doesn't have any license. Legally, everything seems to be fine, and morally, well, I guess you have to decide for yourself. I think as long as people are okay with other people selling instructions for their movie franchise-themed MOCS, they should also be okay with companies doing the same thing, even so in a bigger scale. But let's get back to the set itself. Of course, it is not the first construction blocks build showing this particular scene. For example, on Rebrickable, we can find a lot of MOCs showing the same scene. And there are even several MOCs which, depict the same scene in the same style. You can see that here the Imperials are created with the help of several 1x1 plates. But I think this Modbrix set is one of the best looking versions of the scene so far. So this set comes in a unprinted brown box, but with a paper sleeve, which shows us how the build is going to look like once completed. On the back side we get to see the completed build. In front of this night sky, I don't know. I guess this is supposed to be space because it's the Death Star and the Death Star is in space. But because of these clouds, I think it just looks like the sky at night. That's a bit strange. And on the backside we get to see more computer rendered images of the completed build, so we get to see the build from different angles. But for some reason they used here on this side the same lighting for the rendered image as they did on the front. So in the front it makes sense to keep the image a bit dark, the lighting a bit darker, because it's supposed to be in space or at night or whatever. But here on the white background, I think they could have used another digital light source. Have a look here at the build. It looks very dark, it looks a bit bluish. I mean, those are supposed to be stormtroopers, I guess, and this Lambda shuttle, those pieces should be white, not this, darkish, a bit bluish, whatever color. It looks a bit, it looks exactly the same like here, as if the whole thing was photographed at dawn or at night, I don't know. But well, for me it doesn't matter. As I always say, I absolutely don't care about the box. For me it's important what's inside, and this is what we are going to find out now. Inside the box we find, of course, our bricks. They come in unnumbered bags because there are no individual building sections. One of the bags looks a bit differently than all the other bags, but I don't really think that this is something to care about. And there are also these two bigger plates here, which do not come in bags at all. Nowadays, Modbrix sets don't come with printed building instructions. They come with this little piece of paper here, which shows a QR code, which leads us to the digital instructions. I already have downloaded them. It's a PDF file. You don't even need this piece of paper at all. You can also simply download the instructions from the Modbrix website. So, normally I recommend to sort all the pieces by type before you start with the building process, because during the building process it just saves a lot of time when you don't have to search for an individual brick at each building step. But I think in this case, with such a low amount of pieces, sorting them isn't really necessary. I'm just going to empty all the bags, to open all the bags and empty them on the table. Well, after I have done that, I'm going to start with step 1. I will come back to you as soon as I see something interesting or something simply doesn't work as shown in the instructions. Step 5. I think now is a good opportunity to talk about the pieces used in the set. So, those are the typical pieces Modbrix also uses for their special sets. This means the bricks work totally fine, there are no problems with the clutch power, but many of the pieces come with ugly injection holes. Have a look here at this injection hole at the stud here. It's a crater-like hole which is quite ugly. And also all these 1x1 and 1x2 pieces in black come with these ugly injection holes. But luckily, all of those terrible pieces will be covered once the build is complete. At least I think so when I have a look at the image at the back side of the box. There are also a lot of studs which will be visible in the end. Of course, all the 1x1 plates, which are supposed to be the heads of the Imperials. But as you can see, these pieces don't come with ugly injection holes on that stud. And that's quite cool. Another thing about the pieces is that like always, the pieces in black look a bit washed out. The black isn't really intense, and you can see that also the tiles come in another shade of black than the plates. So the tiles look grayer, and they look quite scratched. I think for the price this is no problem, but if you really care about absolutely shiny tiles in intense black, these might not be the right pieces for you. Step 11. I just have placed 72 of these 1x1 round plates, and actually it wasn't annoying at all to place them. It was quite fun, and it didn't cost much time. If those had been normal 1x1 plates, it would have been absolutely annoying to place them all, because you always have to align 1x1 plates perfectly, otherwise it just doesn't look all right. But with 1x1 round plates, there isn't anything to align at all. They they are round, and so they always align perfectly. Alright, as you can see, we have placed now the legs of 72 Imperials, and now it's time for their torsos. Step 16. So, I think we have completed everything on the ground. The parading troops, completed. The only thing missing here is the shuttle. But now we start with building the wall. Step 17. In this step, we have built 10 of these little elements here, and we place them in front of these gray 1x1 bricks here. You can see that there are always 2 studs in front of the bricks. Well, not in front of all the bricks. In front of this brick here, there's only a tile. There are no studs at all. This means we place our element like here, but it isn't interlocked. And I had a look in the instructions, and it seems that it will take quite a time until we interlock them. The wall will be quite big at the time when this piece finally gets interlocked with the rest of the build. Step 20. I was talking nonsense. It didn't take that long to connect this piece with the rest of the ball. And it's interlocked. Step 35. So far, the elements of the wall are quite loose, so the wall as a whole isn't really sturdy at the moment. But in this step now, we try to change this. But have a look at the wall for a moment now. Here we can clearly see that the bricks aren't of the best quality. Normally, the light bluish gray studs and the dark bluish gray studs should be aligned, but you can see that there's a gap. The light bluish gray studs sit a bit lower than the dark bluish gray studs. And yeah, this is clearly because of bad tolerances. And now we have to interlock the light and the dark gray pieces, and yeah, let's hope that this works. Normally now the wall should get sturdier by interlocking the 2 pieces, but as you can see they don't align perfectly, so I hope the connection is strong enough that the pieces interlock well enough with each other, and I hope that the whole thing won't be wobbly in the end. Well, it seems to work. That's cool. But it's not nice to know that underneath those corner bricks there are these huge gaps. Luckily, this won't really visible, I think. Is it visible from the back? Yeah, from the back it is visible. That's not so cool. Step 49. We have completed the shuttle bay, and now the only thing left to do is to build the shuttle itself. Step 63. In this step we are using a building technique which I already showed you in a lot of my videos. It's a technique Modbrix likes to use, but it's also used by a lot of other companies. We use this technique to invert the building direction. We want to turn these negative studs into positive studs. And we do this with the help of these single studs here, these hollow studs, these ironing beads. Those are pieces the Lego company, for example, doesn't use at all. And yeah, the set comes with this little bar here, which we use as a tool. Other companies have dedicated tools for this building technique, but Modbrix and now also Modbrix, which is nowadays part of Modbrix, comes only with these bars here. So what we do is that we stick the bar in one of those ironing beads, and now we place it inside one of those negative studs like this, And now we use our fingernail to push down the hollow stud, and at the same time we release the tool. We do this a second time for the second negative stud. Like this. And now we have turned the negative studs into positive studs. And now it's no problem to place it at another, or interlock it with a negative stud. For example, like this. Step 98. With placing the completed shuttle, we also have completed the whole build. We have recreated the second Death Star's Hangar 272. Well, at least a cutout of that hangar. The real hangar would be way bigger in this scale here. So, on the left side, we see the opening through which the Emperor's shuttle has entered the hangar. But, of course, the bluish magnetic field, which we can see in the film, could not be recreated. So, the shuttle just has landed, and the Emperor, Palpatine, has already left the shuttle. Here he is. I think it's the left one, those two 1x1 round plates in black. And yeah, the shuttle has this little platform here, this ramp, which Palpatine used to leave it. And I think this ramp is this lowered ramp is the only difference which this shuttle has. Other than that, it's completely the same shuttle as we saw it in the previous Modbrix set, the Endor set, which I showed you before. Next to the Emperor, we can see Darth Vader. He is taller than all the other Imperials, and he got the base of a lever as his helmet. Both Palpatine and Vader are flanked by Imperial guards in red. Imperial troops are witnessing in formation the whole scenery, and yeah, you can see that they are wearing different uniforms. So I think it's quite clear that those guys in white here are stormtroopers. And then we also got these guys here in light bluish gray and dark bluish gray and black. I'm not quite sure what those guys are supposed to be. When we have a look at the film, there we can see guys in a lot of different uniforms. So there are stormtroopers, but also TIE fighter pilots, technicians, officers. I think there are some AT-AT or AT ST captains and a lot of other guys. So my guess is that those guys with the black upper plates are supposed to be technicians, because yeah, those guys are wearing gray uniforms but also black hats. But it's just a guess, and maybe those gray guys here are officers. I don't know. Those also might be the captains of the AT-ATs and AT-STs. I think if I had placed offices here, I would have made them differently. I would have placed the lower row of 1x1 round plates in black, because they wear these huge black boots. And yeah, the upper plates I would have placed in olive green, because their uniforms are, yeah, in this darker greenish color. It's not really dark green, it's not really olive green. I don't know what this color is supposed to be, but I think olive green would have been close enough. But there's no reason to complain about. I think we can absolutely see what the idea behind this here is. We want to represent a crowd, with different uniforms, and it's just fine like it is shown here. So, another cool thing about this build is the wall in the back. It's just a boring gray Durasteel wall, but with the help of this greveling here, yeah, it gets less boring. Those details make the wall way more fun. That's cool. This little diorama is great, but the whole scenery is of course very condensed. In the film there are way more rows of Imperials, and the wall is way further in the back. This set or this build has an preferred side to be displayed. There isn't much to see on the back side, but it doesn't look bad either. At the back we just don't get to see much. There is simply this wall here, but it comes with a lot of details, and yeah, that's fine. But it's clear that this here is the center of attention. But we can imagine that on the other side of the hangar, the wall looks like this, so we don't simply get to see a colorful Technic construction or something of that, which, is only needed to create the build. No, we really get to see a wall which, could be there. So that's quite cool. Well, this is a fun little set and easy to build. I had quite a relaxing building experience. Most of the time we were only putting bricks on top of each other. Only the shuttle uses slightly more complex building techniques, but still nothing really complicated. During the building process, the wall was a bit wobbly, but once it was completed, it was totally sturdy. Sadly, the bricks have bad tolerances. So when you stack a lot of bricks on top of each other without regularly connecting them with the bricks next to them, you will produce gaps like we can see here. Luckily, this is only visible from the back. We can't see it from the front. In this set, this is not much of a problem, but bad tolerances can become really problematic. I remember the Bluebricks St. Mark's Square set. It was impossible to complete the build without slight modifications because of the bad tolerances. I even had to leave some pieces out. But with this set, the tolerances didn't have such a severe impact. It doesn't lower the sturdiness of the build, And the problem isn't visible from the display or on the display side at all. Besides this one problem, the bricks do an okayish job. The clutch power is great, and at least all the studs which are visible in the completed build do not come with ugly injection holes or something like that. The visible pieces all are fine. Of course, there are bricks with ugly injection holes, but luckily those are all covered. The design of this build itself is great. Designer Florian did a great job. The build looks nice, and if the set came with better bricks, then there would not much be to complain about. The instructions are done perfectly. They are easy to follow and come without any error. All in all, if you like Star Wars and this kind of micro diorama style, then I think you can have much fun with the set.